he played a safe fight. He played a safe fight, and definitely was a clone of Klitschko. You can tell Klitschko was in his count with the move, jab, hold method, and for Joshua to have the the advantage, he was 6 inches taller with a 8 inch reach advantage
Hmm.
over a 6 feet guy, and fighting safe like that. You know what I mean? That was, that just lets you know like my mindset as a champion. Like, when I look at stuff like that, especially when you have the advantage like that, it's like my mindset is to tear you apart, to rip you to shreds. Like, and like I ain't, I'm not gonna play safe. I'm not, I'm gonna go in and show you why I am the heavyweight champion of the world. Even when I won my first title, when people really didn't understand me and think I, could box or do whatever, I stood there with Severn. I whooped his ass, and he was the champion. That's why I expect as a champion and what I've done so far so long as a champion. I look at it so differently. Like my demeanor and mindset as a champion is so strong. Like I ain't gonna go in there just to survive with you, just to run around the ring, with you. If I say I'm the man and I'm the best, I'm gonna whoop your ass and show
Hmm.
you why I am the best. And he, Joshua played it safe. You can tell he didn't want to engage with Ruiz, and he did what he had to do to win.
Hmm.
On the other hand, and you can't be mad at that, but like it just, I don't. I mean, when people looking at the fight and they compare Joshua with me,
Deontay Chicken Leg Wilder has reacted to Anthony the Matador, Anthony the Professor Joshua, giving Andy Ruiz a master's degree in boxing. He said the following: AJ did what he had to do to get the win. He ran around the ring and was on his bike all day. Basically, he had Klitschko in the camp, and he was a lot like Klitschko. That jab, grab, hold method. That's all he did tonight. You want to dominate guys, man. Maybe I'm just too rough, too hardcore, and too much of a dream for this era. Maybe that's what the world wants now. Nice-ish. My mentality is so different from these other fighters. But when I think of myself as a champion, you want to come out there and whoop ah. I'm not coming in after losing to this guy to just dance around and grab and jab and hold. I'm going to show the world and convince them that I am the very best and that no one is close to me. How can no one say I'm the very best in the world after that performance from AJ? I've given you what you want to pay for every time, especially when we're talking about a heavyweight bout. Fans come to see knockouts. They come to see something dramatic, a body laying on the canvas, spread like it's giving birth. That's what people want to see. That's my mentality. Joshua had many times he could have gone for the finish after he landed the right hand. When you land the right hand, you've tackled the distance. When you land that punch, you know you're in the exact position for the second time round. But he was so hesitant. Joshua's mentality was to survive, the Klitschko method. The difference is my mentality is that of a beast, a warrior, a king, an emperor, all those things. If he calls himself a king, he's just on the nicer side of it. This is a brutal sport, and that's how I treat it. I ain't showing no love for anybody in that ring. So, there goes Wilder's comments. Now, let me, you know the way I like to be very clinical and methodical. So we're going to break it down from the very top. So initially, what's the first thing Deontay says? The first thing he says is, AJ did what he had to do to get the win. He ran around the ring and was on his bike all day. Now, ultimately, whilst I'm going to go through all of these quotes individually, the method of or the theme of what I'm going to say here is going to be, Wilder, let's see you in the ring with Ruiz, shall we? This is what frustrates me about Wilder. You'll notice this. When AJ lost to Ruiz, he's got things to say. He's celebrating the fact he's lost 140 million, aka what that means. Let me translate that for you. Wilder isn't actually celebrating the fact he's lost 140 million. He's celebrating the fact that now, after AJ lost to Ruiz, The reason Wilder and Fury both celebrated was the fact that it meant that for the next 6 months they would be safe. Wilder would be able to sleep easy. I already reported on it. Back in April and May, before AJ lost to Ruiz and everyone was talking about AJ versus Wilder, I told you, lot, I've spoken to Deontay Wilder's physician, yeah? He had not been sleeping. He'd been on relaxing medications. The full works, yeah? He'd been on them Xannies hard. He was zanned out of his mind trying to get some sleep. Pure anxiety, pure insomnia. The tapes are there. I haven't ever taken down any videos. The evidence is there. Deontay Wilder's physician told us he has not been sleeping. So that's why people were confused. Wilder, why are you celebrating? You've just lost $100 million. That's why. Because for the next 6 months, between June and December, Wilder didn't have to wake up every day and think about AJ getting deep between them cheeks of his. That's what will be happening, yeah? No lube either. AJ goes deep. Look. All you got to do is look at Ruiz's bust up face. AJ goes deep with it, and Wilder knows that. AJ don't leave nothing hanging out the back. Goes deep in, and Wilder knows that good and well. That's why he celebrated after losing $100 million, because he didn't want AJ spreading them cheeks and leaving nothing hanging out the back. That's the bottom line, and he's admitting it now. He's telling you. So that's the theme of the things here, because Wilder's always got some goofy stuff to say about AJ's performance, but not only does he want nothing to do with AJ, he also wants nothing to do with any of AJ's opponents. So he criticises AJ every time. Oh, you lost to Ruiz. Oh, you beat this time you beat Ruiz. Oh, but you beat him this way. Wilder, let's see you in there with Ruiz. Let's see you in there taking them shots from Ruiz. Let's see you in there knocking Ruiz out. And I honestly don't think that... I think Ruiz beats Wilder, because I think Ruiz will be able to take Wilder's shots. We saw Ruiz taking right hands all night. In fact, never mind all night, even in the first fight, when AJ hit Ruiz with that big right hand after the first knockdown. I think Ruiz's chin, it's one of them right hand chins where he can just take right hands. And in fact, most fighters, a right hand isn't really a massive shot. Hooks are normally the shots that put people out. It's something to do with the angle, I think, or something like that. I don't know. I think when you get hit with a hook, because it's from left to right, jangles the chin more. Straight shots are a bit more... I don't know, that's what I've noticed in boxing. Hooks are normally the more deadly punches. Now, I'm sure there'll be Wilder fans out there who say, oh, well, Wilder's right hand. That's the scary thing. Who is Wilder knocked out? An old man? Are you joking? Old ass Ortiz. Old Tease. Dinosaur Tease. Come on. Be real now. He's an old man who was half concentrating. The first 6 rounds, when he was concentrating, by the way, he was all over Wilder, and that's what makes it so scary, this Ruiz fight, because what do we know? The first 3 rounds, Ruiz, in little spurts, put Wilder under pressure. Wilder weren't looking to throw no right hand when he was under pressure. What do we know about Ruiz? Ruiz is that same guy, he puts you under pressure for the full 12 rounds as well. So, this whole Wilder saying, oh AJ, you should have done this, or I would have knocked him out. Let's see you knocking out. Let me answer this. When has Wilder likes to talk about, oh, AJ had to box and AJ had to do this. When has Wilder ever knocked out any of AJ's opponents? And this is the problem here. He's always criticising, oh, you should have done this, oh, you should have done that. Has Wilder knocked out Klitschko? No. Has Wilder knocked out Dillian White? No. Has he knocked out Povetkin? No. Has he knocked out Takam? No. Has he knocked out Ruiz? No. Has he knocked out anyone? All of the top 10 opponents AJ has beat up or beat. All of the top 10 opponents AJ has beat. Has Wilder knocked out any of them? No. And put that to one side. Let's say, for example, Wilder has fought people that AJ hasn't fought, like Vitali, like Fury. Oh, wait there a minute. I don't even rate Fury, by the way, but what happened when wait there a minute. So, AJ has a plethora of top 10 opponents, none of which Wilder has dared to fight. But let's put that to one side. Let's say that's pure chance. Let's say that wasn't Wilder ducking. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt here. Okay then. Forget about AJ's resume. Let's see what top 10 fighters or Wilder has otherwise knocked out. Let's try and work out the credibility here. Because he's criticising AJ for not getting the knockout. But surely to criticise AJ, you must have some resume where you've been icing, where you've showed evidence that you can knock out top 10 opponents. Let's break it down now. Firstly, the first I don't even think he's top 10, but let's throw him in there because Wilder's resume is so poor. Let's throw in Bermane Stiverne, the first world champion, the only world champion Wilder fought. What happened there? Did Wilder ice him? Or did he go 12 rounds, life and death, 50-50? Yeah? When AJ fought Ruiz, he won 12 rounds. Fact. Did Wilder win 12 rounds against Bermane Stiverne? Absolutely not. He won probably 7 or 8. At most 8. So let's wait there a minute. Someone please explain that to me. Wilder, the first top 10 opponent you fought, and by the way, we're talking top 10 here, but Bermane Stiverne, I don't even like to call him a top 10. In reality, he's more like a top 50. But I'm struggling. The fact of the matter is, Wilder, when you got in there with a poor man's Ruiz, Bermane Stiverne has less head movement than Ruiz. He has slower feet than Ruiz. And that's saying something. He's got slower hands than Ruiz. He's got less combinations than Ruiz. Yeah? He's absolutely inferior to Ruiz. Yet, you went life and death with him. And you lost 4 rounds. When AJ fought someone better than Bermane Stiverne, he boxed his head off. That's the first example. But don't get me wrong. Let's write off Bermane Stiverne then. Let's say that was an anomaly. What else have we got? Who's the next top 10 opponent? Ortiz. Oh, wait there a minute. He's a million years old. And by the way, people want to say, oh, well, Ortiz is top 10. Who was Ortiz beat to be top 10 then? So, on a serious note, I don't think Ortiz is top 10. I just genuinely don't. Who is he beat to be top 10? Who? Please someone tell me who he has beat to be top 10. Dave Allen had 10 days notice, rolled off the couch. We've seen. As an example. Let's get it right. Does anyone on YouTube believe Dave Price is a top 10 fighter? I don't. So let's put it into let's do a bit of maths here. Dave Price, who is not a top 10 fighter, he makes Dave Allen quit in the corner. Yeah? Simple. Dave Allen has a full camp, a dedicated camp. Dave Allen's coming off a massive high after beating Lucas Brown. Peak of his career, absolute peak of his career, 20-week camp, gets in there and is made to quit. Dave Allen comes off the couch, a week's notice, goes in there with Ortiz. Ortiz and Dave Allen go 50-50, life and death. Ortiz was going life and death with 10 days notice with Dave Allen. Yeah? And you're trying to tell me Ortiz is top 10? Are you joking? Come on, let's talk turkey now. Let's be serious now. Ortiz is about the same level as David Price. Just look at the performances. Dave Price stopped Dave Allen, who is fully trained and fully on it, fully prepared. And Luis Ortiz did a similar thing. So that puts me, they're about the same level. And when you think about it now. Dave Price versus Ortiz. I'm thinking that's a 50-50 fight. That's bang. That there is a bang equal fight in my opinion. Could go either way there, I'm not sure. And let's get it right. People will sit there, some LDBC fans will be looking at the screen like, what's he talking about? But don't take my word for it. Let's take the stats for it. Yeah? Ignore what I've just said there. I've just called Ortiz a top 10 opponent. I've just called Ortiz an opponent equal to David Price. Top 20, top 30. And when you look at the evidence, that makes sense. As an example, Luis Ortiz went the full distance with Christian Hammer. Is Christian Hammer a top 10? You went life and death with Christian Hammer. That puts you bang where you need to be. Bearing in mind, Tyson Fury has actually stopped Christian Hammer. Yeah, if you can't stop Christian Hammer, you are not top 10. It's as simple as that. Yeah? If you can't stop Dave, simple as that. I'm sorry. That puts you at around 20, 30. So that's the whole Ortiz thing debunked. Ortiz has never beat anyone in the top 10. And also, when you look at his resume, top 20, top 30 adds about right. When you take that middle ground of people, the 15s and whatever, that's where Ortiz genuinely sits, without any corruption. The fact there's corruption, obviously he's got a higher rank, but ultimately that's what he's got. When you look at the numbers, when you look at what Ortiz has done and proved, he is not top 10. He's just not. And not to mention he's been knocked out twice by a man who does not have proven power. And that's all Wilder has on his record. He's got a 12-round war with Bermane Stiverne. Yeah? He's got a knockout against Ortiz, the blown-up top 10, an invented top 10, and then he's got a draw with Fury. That's another evidence point. So once again, Wilder's criticising AJ's power, criticising AJ's inability to finish people, But yet, all of the top 10 people Wilder's been in there with, he hasn't been able to stop. But Main Stavern, who was top 10 at the time, Wilder couldn't stop. Ortiz doesn't count because he's so old and he's so unproven, and also is not top 10. The other top 10 person he fought was Fury. Yeah? What did Wilder do when he was in there with his other top 10 opponent? Did he stop them? No. He goes life and death, 50-50. Many people believe he lost the fight. I'm not actually one of them, but that said, many people do. I think the draw is probably about right. That said, you got a draw. You went the full distance, couldn't stop him. So there's a bit of a trend here. Whenever Wilder steps in the ring with a certified top 10, he can't get the stoppage. And that's the issue here. AJ goes along. He fights top 3 opponents, top 5 opponents, day in, day out, time and time again. Meanwhile, Wilder sits there having rematches with old dinosaur reptilian fighters who have actually never done anything in their whole career, so-called boogeymen. Their whole careers are fabricated. Wilder fights them and sits there and talks about what other people are doing. Don't get me wrong, it's a smart strategy. Oh, you know what? I'll sit here and do nothing, and then have loads of things to say about everyone else. It's easy to do. I'm going to fight a load of people who I know I can knock out, and then everyone else can fight hard fights, and I'll then be able to sit here and criticise, I knocked out my opponent, and you knocked out a top 30 opponent. AJ just knocked out top 2 or top 3 opponent. Sorry, just went the distance with top 3 opponent. Let's see if Wilder can go the distance with Ruiz. Let's get that on there first. Rather than talking, and let's get it right. Wilder himself has ranted and raved about how easy the Ruiz fight is to make. Let's see how easy it is to make then. You talked about how it's in-house and you're both PBC. Let's get it going now. Because Ruiz is free, and the Wilder fight, the Fury fight I guess, but that's only in February. That's 2 months away. Yeah, so let's get that fight out of the way. Fury versus Wilder. Let's get the Ruiz fight. After all, that'll be a big pay-per-view fight, relatively speaking. You'll probably do 150k buys. Add another 50k on from the Ortiz fight. And you go, and that'll be a 50% increase for your numbers. Let's get that going. And what gets me is, Wilder's always talking. Why can't he just say, AJ, your performance was boring. AJ, you bottled your performance. I'm going to show you how it's done. He never wants to do that. He'll criticise, but never say, I'm gonna step in your shoes and show you. When has Wilder ever gone in there and said, AJ, that was a bad performance, I'm gonna show you different? Oh, don't tell me, Dominic Bumzeel, come on. And that's the kind of person Wilder is, you know. And it's very interesting because Wilder looks at AJ's career and he tries to find little ways he can prove himself. He knew that AJ went 7 rounds or however many rounds with Dominic Bumzeel, and he thought, you know what, that's a great shout. Let me try and nip and tuck. Let me try and get a knockout over Brazil, and I can talk about it. Rather than saying, you know what, let me try and pick on some of the people AJ's beat who are good. Povetkin. Why hasn't Wilder been calling for a rematch or a fight with Povetkin? Sorry. And that's the other thing. The scary thing is this. Listen, what do we know? At the point Wilder fought Dominic Bumzeel, he had the opportunity to fight Dillian White. Yeah? So, and AJ's beat both people, Dillian White, in similar fashion actually. Dillian White and Dominic Brazil. At that point, why didn't Wilder say, you know what, AJ's already beat Dominic Brazil, but not only that, I can fight either Dillian White or Dominic Brazil. Why don't I fight Dillian White? Because he's the better fighter. Yeah? If I beat Dillian White better than AJ beat him, I might actually have a real claim now. And I'd give him the credit for it, to be honest. If Wilder beat Dillian White before 7 rounds, there'd be a good case or Wilder would at least have a case then, because actually Dillian White's improved since that first fight. Meaning that if Wilder was able to stop Dillian White before 7 rounds, I'd give credit there. I'd say, you know what, that's a fair point. But even then, AJ was worse 4 years ago. But the fact of the matter is, he'd have an argument. Wilder would be able to come on here and say, yeah, AJ, your performance was bad. I did it better. Wilder, go and line up the Ruiz fight. Rather than talking, why aren't you lining the fight up? But you notice, Wilder ain't mentioning no Ruiz. He ain't mentioning the people actually fighting him. He's got loads to say about AJ's performance, but he don't want to fight Ruiz. Not even a bit does he want to fight him.